important that you look at the credibility, both in terms of number, consistency, and let me say, considering that this is an innovative project and these are not standard market practices, therefore we need extra comfort in assessing it, including, I would say, particularly the debt repayment capacity and the availability of banks to indeed fund this kind of project. So, to summarize, here are the 7 golden rules for financial maturity. Let me say, so the first and foremost, I said it already, let me repeat, so commitment by the shareholders or by the founders to support a project that is loss-making or low profitability. The business plan assumptions and the credibility, you already understood what I mean, so revenues, capex and opex, credibility and consistency between letter of support and fees. Third is making your financing plan robust enough, consistency between shareholders' letters, commercial banks' letter of support, and fifth, that is absolutely evident. I mean, concrete evidence is key to make it credible, to make your financing plan credible. Follow the guidance on how the WACC is calculated. If you deviate from the standard, I don't know how you are familiar with this WACC formula, but if you deviate from the various coefficients that our methodology suggests you, and you choose national beta or sector coefficient, fine, you are absolutely allowed to do that, but please explain to us why. Justification is needed. The code text is very clear on this. Often you go for this choice, but you don't explain why, and this is it's actually it creates some doubt in the evaluator's mind. Also, please check very carefully your debt and equity ratio in the WACC calculation. Often we have seen a discrepancy between debt and equity ratio in the WACC calculation and that equity ratio a few lines down in the financial model. Check this because you change cells on the going and you forget to change these cells on the WACC that are manually inputted. So please, WACC, explanation, justification of the coefficients you choose if they are not the default ones. Second, debt equity ratios, you check with the final version of the financial model. Ensure consistency for all application documents. I have already said, right? Letter of support, business plan, feasibility study, and the fifth on the other side. I mentioned the sensitivity analysis and the mitigation. Please absolutely put it explicitly. Sometimes we see it in the business plan, sometimes we don't see it at all. Please pay attention to that. It's extremely important and is very helpful for you as well, because it tells you where your project is gonna, might go bust, right? So really, it's important. And then, last but not least, project contracts and financing agreement. Project contracts we mean exactly fix of suppliers, letter of support, letter of intent, off-takers. If you have more than one supply or more than one feedstock, think about it. If you have more than one product, sometimes you have a product, many projects they have more than one product, but there is one product that makes 90% of revenues. Focus on that and tell us. We focused on the letter of support for this because this contributes 90% of our revenue. So, he says here coming soon, but as Gianluca's slides earlier on specified, we have produced a tutorial on financial maturity. Go and listen to it. It's made by a colleague of mine. Endure, get a good cup of coffee, and it's a bit heavy, but follow it. It can be follow it even if it will not be your job to fill in your fees. If you have a consultant, follow it, because often most of the consultants are not maximizing. Not only they do well your job, but you have to own the innovation fund grant amount that you request. You have to own your numbers. Some key numbers are important that you know that you want to maximize your innovation fund grant while remaining competitive on competition. And indeed, Innovation Fund grant plus any other public support that is already secured at the moment of the submission of the application. Over the absolute GHG emission avoidance, this gives a cost efficiency ratio that basically adds up to your score and finally determines, in case you passed and you didn't fail on previous criteria, it determines if you are eventually awarded, let me say, an innovation fund grant. You can mention the public support that you are discussing, but only the secured one must be included in the field. If it is not secured, you can either include or not. Certainly it's worth mentioning it in the application. And in case it is going to be secured during the project lifetime, we are going to factor it in as undiscounted, particularly during the operational time, because we see more and more public support during operations rather than CapEx contribution. So this is more difficult to factor it in our let me say, model.